Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Solar Oil Project presentation. My name is Hitesh. I'm one of the advisors with the project. And by and far, this is the most exciting initiative that I've had the opportunity to be involved in. We've been involved in some very, very interesting, very powerful and revolutionary platforms in the past, and nothing even comes close to what you're about to see here. Now, before I go into any more details, I do want to point out this is not a financial presentation. We are going to be discussing some things such as the price of oil, fluctuation in different financial instruments because of the price of oil. None of this should be taken as financial or investment advice of any kind. If you want to do any of that, you should speak to somebody who's licensed for it. We are just going to focus on this presentation as an information session. So what is the Solar Oil Project? As you can see, we kind of like to emphasize the fact that this is not just a company. This is something well beyond that. And as we go through this, you will realize why that is. So there's been a lot of discussion out there about all the different environmental hazards, environmental issues out there, lots of discussion about global warming, global cooling, climate crisis, and so on. But there's actually a major, humongous ecological issue that has been going on that most people are simply unaware of. And this is something that we can actually practically deal with. And that's the issue of abandoned and underutilized oil wells. So you can see, for example, I have a headline up from Reuters about millions of abandoned oil wells that are leaking methane and all sorts of pollutants into the climate. And then you also have a whole host of issues that are causing the number of these orphaned, abandoned, and underutilized wells to constantly be increasing. And if you do a quick research on this yourself, just go to a search engine and type in abandoned oil wells, you'll come across hundreds, if not thousands of articles talking about what a major issue this is. This problem has actually become so big that it's currently estimated at least $500 billion will be spent just on cleaning up these old oil wells, which is massive if you think about the scale of it. This is just to clean up these wells, not even to make them functional again and so on. So how this problem has come about is pretty straightforward. For decades, we've been using traditional, old, inefficient technology. And anytime there's a big fluctuation in the price of oil, anytime there's a dip in the price, many of these oil wells get abandoned because these inefficient technologies just don't have enough operating margin to keep them running. So every time that happens, every time there's a dip in the price of oil, like there was because of the coronavirus crisis, it results in thousands of these abandoned wells. Because of this happening over and over, we now have a situation where we have over 1 million of these wells that are abandoned out there. We have severe environmental damage from water and soil contamination to carbon and methane pollution. And now we are looking at taxpayers having to foot the bill to go ahead and clean all this up. Just in Texas alone, the taxpayers are expected to spend $117 billion just for this cleanup. Now, a lot of us kind of tend to think of oil in terms of, oh, well, once we switch over to, electric cars, I drive a Tesla myself. Once we do that, then, maybe this problem will just kind of resolve itself over time. And that's not the truth at all. This is something that's going to be around for decades to come because oil is used in a massive number of industries. Oil production is the backbone of all the production of plastics, of different pharmaceuticals even, for obviously jet fuel and gasoline and so on. The point is that this industry is going to be around for a long time, whether we like it or not. So we have to deal with this problem now. And we have to deal with it in a way that actually makes practical sense. So the Solar Oil Project was actually established to help deal with this issue. And it's done very, very simply. The Solar Oil Project works with local oil operators and oil well owners to go out and replace their old, antiquated, traditional pump jacks and old technology and replace it with hyper-efficient, solar-powered, small, eco-friendly pumps instead. What this does is it transitions the entire oil production industry towards being solar-powered. It results in a much cleaner environment. It results in heavy improvements in efficiency, which means you can now produce oil at a much lower cost, so you don't have this problem of abandoned wells anymore. And then you can also revitalize local economies. You can revitalize them because there are literally hundreds of thousands of jobs that are dependent on somebody going in and fixing this problem, and this makes sure that that can actually happen. Obviously, the net result of all of this is that we can reduce, the carbon intensity involved in the production of oil. And of course, we can overall benefit the environment massively. The solar oil project has one other aspect to it, which makes it so very powerful. It's that you can now have an impact globally. You can help solve this problem, but you can actually benefit while doing so. And that's one of the missing pieces. There's a lot of people out there who are very excited about the idea of helping, change the world, clean the environment, improve efficiencies, and so on. But then we have a major disconnect because most of that doesn't benefit the average person. It benefits the massive corporations instead, or it benefits, government programs that give out subsidies to the people who are in the know and the lobbyists. And that's where the solar oil project is also very, very different in that it is driven by the people. So the solar oil project is a smart contract driven project. It allows for global participation. You can be anywhere in the world. You don't have to be living in an area that has heavy oil production. You can be anywhere at all in the world, and you can benefit from the revenue that is generated from the oil production from these old oil wells. And that's what makes this so powerful and why there is so much attention and attraction towards this project at the moment. Because there are millions of these underutilized oil wells, the opportunity is practically limitless. It can be scaled to a massive, massive level and keep growing for a long time to come. And the best part is how easy it is for everybody to participate. You literally can just go to the Solar Oil Project website, create a free account. There are no monthly fees. There's no auto ship. There is no, special one-time membership or anything of the nature. You simply review the information, create your account, and then you determine how many solar oil access tokens you want to purchase, which is SOAX. And it always has a fixed cost of 10 cents per token. So you can actually get started and say, I want to make an impact. I want to help the environment, and I want to generate some oil revenue. And I'm going to do that by purchasing these SOAX tokens. And then you stake these tokens in the platform. And when you do so, you're staking them towards specific oil well properties. Okay, so oil well portfolios. And when you do that for the next 10 years, oil production from those portfolios goes to you, and it's represented in the form of a solar oil production token. So you can literally join the platform, select how many tokens you want to stake, and then continue to receive oil from the oil wells that you are helping revitalize for the next 10 years. And we'll actually walk through a little bit of a demo of this on the platform to show you how it works in a moment as well. Now, every single day that these oil wells report production of oil, that generates a new SOPX token in real time. So each barrel of oil that is produced results in a new production token. And this is a very, very key part. There isn't some company back there that is distributing these SOPX tokens. There isn't somebody who is sitting there with a bunch of these tokens and saying, okay, today I'm going to give a token to Hitesh and tomorrow I'm going to give a token to somebody else. No, it is literally created by a smart contract in real time. And this makes sure that there is tremendous integrity and transparency in the entire process. And then you have the choice to decide what you want to do with this SOPX token. Because it represents a barrel of oil, you can decide to hold it, or you can decide to convert it to Bitcoin or Ethereum at the market value determined by the value of oil. And that's the other thing that makes this so powerful. There is no company or a person determining what the value of these tokens is. The price of the token is directly determined by the WTI crude price globally. So nobody can manipulate this. Nobody can interfere with this. It is all driven by smart contracts. It is all determined by smart contracts, and it all happens in real time. So that obviously brings us to the next question. Well, if the price of this token is tied to the value of oil, what is oil going to be worth over the coming few years? Now, there are a lot of different analysts out there. There are some who say it will be worth, $190 to $200 per barrel. There are some who say it's going to average out around 72. Some who say it will average around 67. Okay, so we're just going to take one example here. Let's take an example of somebody who purchases 300,000 tokens and stakes it on these oil wells. And let's say the average price of oil ends up being $67 for the next 10 years. In that case, the output from these wells would be 3,832 barrels of oil. Okay, that's what you see as SOPX right here. And that has a market value of $187,000. So somebody could actually join the platform, simply purchase these tokens, stake these tokens, and they would then see in this scenario production of 3,800 plus barrels of oil that would be issued to them. And that would result in a value, whether they decide to convert it to Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever, of $188,000 almost. Now, there are some more things that you can do, like every other successful company, on helping grow this and actually becoming, even more successful when it comes to your oil revenues. And that's using the advantage of the compounding effect. And that's very, very straightforward. In your solar oil project account, you have the ability to determine and say, I want half or maybe 3/4 or 25%, whatever the amount is. I want a portion of my oil production to automatically be used towards purchasing and staking more SOAX tokens automatically. That's what I want to do. And this is a key part because this allows you to constantly keep expanding the number of oil wells or the total oil production that you're receiving. So here's an example of what that looks like. Let's say that you simply started with 100,000 SOX tokens. You stake them. Over the next 10 years, you would see estimated production. If the price of oil was $55, you would see around $47,000 produced from that, which is great. That is a very nice, good return on starting out with 100,000 tokens. But if instead you said, look, I'm going to set up 75% compounding on this, where 75% of the oil that is produced also is automatically sold and converted to additional SOX tokens, then with the same 100,000 tokens, you end up with $1.5 million over the 20-year lifespan, which is the amount of time it would take for all of your compounded and your restaked contracts to keep going, to keep producing. Now, obviously, you can keep getting bigger and bigger, right? If the price of oil goes up, then obviously this earning goes into 5-6 million. If you instead say, I also want to stake additional tokens every month, you can keep increasing this over time, and you can be looking at 20, 30, $40 million or more in your total oil value. And that's actually something that the market can support. In fact, let's take a very quick look at what is the market capacity. Can the market actually support this kind of a growth? So if I just go really quickly to Wikipedia and look up oil production from these low volume oil wells, the kind of oil wells that the solar oil project is working with, you can see right here that currently that production is around 1 million barrels of oil every single day. Okay, now this is the current production. This does not include the production. In fact, it's actually gone up since this article was written. This production does not include the additional production you get from these abandoned or underutilized wells. So let's actually look at what this number looks like. So if it's only a 915,000 barrels of production per day every year for 20 years, which is what we're talking about here, is the market there to support this for the next 20 years? And let's say the average price of oil was 55, you're looking at a $367 billion value just in this current production. Okay, again, like I said, this doesn't include the additional production that we could get, but the point is that this market is absolutely massive. There is plenty of room for almost any number of participants to come in and help start working in this particular industry, and the market can easily support that. Over time, as more oil is produced, more tokens get staked, and that in turn produces more oil, and it keeps going as time goes on. This is one of the most powerful aspects of the solar oil project, where it allows the average participant, without having to think about anything else, simply by taking advantage of the oil production from these wells, it allows them to create a very, very significant financial incentive for themselves. So this is something that's often missing from any global or environmental projects. They often end up being things that you have to pour your time and effort into and pour your money into without anything in return, while in this case, you're actually benefiting from it over time very, very significantly. Now, like any major initiative, like any major project, the more people who are involved, the more powerful that initiative becomes. In our case, we understand that almost every single major company today, Google, Amazon, Uber, and so on, they've all grown and they've all reached the stage where they are because they take advantage of the concept of 6 degrees of separation. Everybody in this world is connected to each other. We are actually more connected today than ever before. So Solar Oil Project also incentivizes you, just like Amazon, that if you were to share this project with somebody and they come in and also participate, when they do so, 10% of whatever number of tokens they decide to purchase is issued to you as a reward as well. This also allows you to keep growing as time goes on. And again, just like these major companies like Uber, Amazon, and so on, what the Solar Oil Project really specializes in doing is simplifying for the average person a very complicated process in the background. When you order a product from Amazon, it arrives at your doorstep. Although there's a very complex mechanism happening in the background. There's import and export happening, there's multiple warehouses involved, there's a lot of inventory management going on, hundreds of thousands of employees involved in the process, but you don't see any of that. You simply reap the reward of a very simplified process. That's exactly how the Solar Oil Project is also set up. It's designed to take all this complicated process of installation of equipment and doing the blending on the oil and refining and all that stuff, all these aspects that are involved in the background. It keeps that in the background and allows you to participate purely by looking at your SOAX tokens, your access tokens, and then your oil production tokens. One of the great things about this project is that you are actually able to track the exact impact that you're having across your entire social network. So as you start sharing this project with others, and we'll see this in a moment in the back office walkthrough, you actually begin to see exact impact. How much energy am I helping offset? How many jobs am I helping create? How much carbon am I offsetting? You get to see all of that across your entire 6 degrees of separation. So this is genuinely the first project that we know of where you can actually be involved in a very measurable way to improve the world, to heal the world, to deal with some of these environmental issues, and at the same time, get rewarded for it very, very handsomely. Which brings us to the point that we started out with. The Solar Oil Project is not a company. It's a global initiative that is designed for every participant to be able to address a very clear, practical, global issue that we are facing today, at the same time derive tremendous personal and global benefits for all the participants.